Soul's Remnant has several systems that can be a bit confusing at first. I'm still exploring a lot of things, but I've put together 10 tips that are already helping me a lot with my progression. I believe some of them can facilitate your journey as well. I'm Mary, and the video is about to start. The Loadout system is one of the most important tools to fully enjoy Soul's Remnant, mainly because the game doesn't lock the character into a fixed class. Instead of redistributing equipment, attributes, and skills every time you change activities, you can prepare specific setups and switch quickly depending on the situation. I create at least 3 setups, one for grinding with maximum damage and attack speed, another for dungeons and groups, prioritizing buffs, resistances, and survivability, and a third focused on life skills and crafting. This separation seems simple, but it prevents you from using a combat setup in activities that require efficiency, resource management, or entirely different skills. Macros make the system even more interesting because they are also saved in each loadout. After setting up a skill combo for a specific role, you don't need to redo everything manually. While grinding, this can facilitate offensive rotations. In a group, it can help keep buffs and support skills in the right order. I would just be careful to review the macros whenever a skill is altered or when you discover a more efficient combination. The only concern is the soul crystal cost to switch loadouts. For this reason, I wouldn't change loadouts on a whim. I'd keep each one well-defined and only swap when the activity truly justifies it. From my perspective, the biggest benefit isn't just gaining more damage, but saving time and reducing the frustration of constantly reorganizing everything, making your progression much more fluid. The auction house is convenient, but setting up a merchant stall in the most populated channels requires observing player behavior, where they are farming, which dungeons are popular, and which consumables are being used most frequently. The main advantage lies in selling at the right place and at the right time. A stall positioned near a busy dungeon can offer potions, food, and other consumables right before expeditions. The player pays for the convenience, and you can operate with higher margins than you would in a standard auction house sale. It's almost like opening a small shop in front of a packed stadium. The product might be the same, but the context greatly increases its perceived value. I also think it's important to highlight the merchant skill because it gives a real purpose to those who want to specialize in the economy. The lower fee for stalls, 4% compared to the auction house's 5%, might seem like a small difference, but it becomes relevant when you move a lot of items or sell high-value products. Additionally, the market hub at Spawn can work as a central point to test prices, find buyers, and understand which goods are actually circulating. In practice, I treat this strategy as a combination of logistics, observation, and timing. Before producing large quantities, I would compare auction house prices, check the demand near dungeons, and start with a small inventory to gauge the sales velocity. The most interesting part is that you won't just be trading within the game, you'll be occupying a real space in the player-driven economy, and this can turn a simple life skill into a consistent source of income. One thing I took a while to appreciate was the friendship system with the village NPCs. At first, I only saw those requests and gifts as something secondary, almost a distraction from what really mattered, which was leveling up and exploring. But as I progressed, I realized that ignoring the villagers meant leaving behind an important part of the progression. There are exactly 10 main villagers in the town, and each of them has a routine of requests and interactions that increase their affinity. I make sure to check the daily requests and deliver gifts they like, because every affinity point counts. Over time, this relationship levels up and starts unlocking things that don't appear anywhere else in the game. When you reach high friendship levels with these NPCs, they unlock secret quests, exclusive crafting recipes, and even permanent discounts on important goods. I've already gotten recipes I wouldn't find otherwise and started paying less for items I use constantly. This makes all the difference, especially when you're setting up your economy and want to optimize resources. So if you are playing Souls Remnant, I recommend not leaving the villagers aside. Take the time to fulfill their requests, give gifts, and increase your affinity with each of the 10 villagers. The content this unlocks, such as recipes and extra quests, is worth much more than it seems at first, and ends up becoming an essential part of your journey in the game. If there is one simple change I made to my routine that yielded much more progression, it was inverting the order of what I did upon logging into the game. Previously, I would rush straight to the hunting grounds and only think about quests when I was in the middle of combat. Now, my first destination is always the central statue in the city to talk to the quest master. He is right at spawn and unlocks the leveling quest line along with 3 random daily quests. I grab them all at once before leaving the city. This way, when I find contracts scattered across the hunting grounds, I can fit everything into a single route. The result is that I stop going back and forth to the city just to turn in or pick up new tasks, which previously broke my rhythm and made me waste time. This organization has another direct effect. It guarantees a steady gain of dungeon essence. This resource is used for very important things, like improving equipment, making upgrades, and activating auras. When I left the quests for later, I ended up farming less dungeon essence than I could have, and this delayed my gear improvements and my evolution in the game. Therefore, if you want to optimize your time in Souls Remnant, I recommend making this visit to the Quest Master the first step of your daily session. Grab all the available quests, combine them with the contracts you find on the map, and use this to avoid unnecessary trips back to town. The steady flow of dungeon essence and the organization of daily tasks make a huge difference in your progression. One of the things that changed my playstyle the most was understanding that the classless system is truly free form and not just a decoration in the skill menu. I don't lock my character into a single path of melee, ranged, magic, or faith. I mix them up, and it's exactly this mixture that opens the door to combos that make all the difference when clearing the map. A combination I use a lot is pairing mobility skills, like the grappling hook, with area of effect magic or physical buffs. The hook isn't just for moving around the environment faster, it also puts me in the perfect position to open with an AoE skill right in the middle of a group of monsters. This way, I enter combat with an advantage instead of chasing down enemies one by one. This completely changes the pacing of my gameplay. When I use Grapple Strike, followed immediately by an AoE skill, I can pull enemies in, group them up, and deal damage to several at the same time. The result is a much faster map clear, because I'm not wasting time fighting one by one while the rest move around and scatter across the environment. Therefore, if you are putting together your build in Souls Remnant, I recommend not limiting yourself to just one archetype. Try combining different skill categories. See how a mobility skill can set the stage for an AoE spell or a physical buff, and feel in practice how this improves your clear speed. It's simple, but it makes a huge difference in your day-to-day routine within the game. Prioritizing auras and attack speed echoes early on seems like one of the most impactful decisions to accelerate your progression in Souls Remnant. Since auras and weapons are the only items capable of granting attack speed, including the global version, they don't just increase your attack speed, they also help reduce the cooldowns of skills in the corresponding category, making your entire rotation much more fluid. I try to get my first aura as soon as possible, whether from the silver chest in dungeons or by exchanging dungeon essence. Even if the stats aren't perfect, a mediocre aura can already significantly change the feel of combat. In an MMORPG with skills that rely on rhythm and cooldowns, using skills more frequently means dealing more damage over time, reacting better to situations, and making the most of every window of opportunity. Skill point echoes also deserve special attention. They might seem less flashy than a direct damage increase, but additional points for skills allow you to reach important milestones for your build earlier. In practice, a setup with better access to strong skills can outperform a setup that only has higher attack numbers but can't yet complete its main rotation. If you combine a functional aura, attack speed echoes, and extra skill points, you will likely feel a more consistent evolution, both in grinding and in dungeons. I would only avoid discarding a mediocre aura right away. Before replacing it, I would test how it alters rotation timings and actual DPS over a few minutes of combat. There's a mechanic that at first I used to overlook and only realized its impact after a while: the darkness crystal system. While you're farming, every now and then a mysterious darkness warning pops up and a crystal appears on the map, marked as a green square on the minimap. The concept is simple. When this crystal shows up, you need to input the directional arrows the game prompts you with to clear it. If you do this, everyone on the map receives a 10-minute buff that increases experience, skill experience, drops, soul crystals, and even global damage. This bonus seems small at first, but over the course of farming sessions, it makes a very big difference in your progression. What many people fail to realize is that ignoring the crystal has consequences. If you don't clear it within a limit of roughly 50 kills, you end up losing all the experience and drops you would have gained on the map until you resolve the situation. Basically, you keep playing, but without receiving an important part of the reward. That's why I started treating the crystal as a priority. As soon as the warning appears, I stop, locate it on the minimap, and do the inputs. In a party, this becomes a collective routine that greatly improves the efficiency of the entire group. When everyone pays attention and clears the crystal as soon as it spawns, the buff stays active almost all the time, and the farm yields much more. So if you want to make better use of your time in Souls Remnant, it's worth incorporating this habit. Whenever the darkness crystal appears, clear it before moving on. A party acts as a true efficiency multiplier. You receive experience bonuses for being on the same map, while the kills from other members also contribute to the progress of your quests. The increased monster spawn rate makes this strategy even stronger. When the group eliminates enemies quickly, the map starts offering new targets in less time, reducing the waiting periods between fights. In practice, this creates a highly efficient cycle. More players kill faster, the map accelerates the spawn, and everyone manages to maintain a steady pace of experience and progression. I would only keep an eye on the level difference between members. When it exceeds 10 levels, the free experience gain starts to be reduced, so it's not enough to simply invite a much stronger player to carry the group. The ideal approach is to look for people who are in a similar level range and who are also farming in the same region. In my opinion, it's worth forming groups even with strangers, especially on popular maps. You can simply observe who is hunting in the same area and politely send an invite without needing to turn it into a major negotiation. Since the system itself seems to reward cooperation and collective speed, playing with others might be one of the simplest ways to boost your progression without spending extra resources. One thing I only truly understood after a few hours was that the real limit to a character's power doesn't lie solely in their level or gear, but in skill points. They are quite limited. You only earn 2 every 4 levels, with a few extra scattered throughout the game. This means that every point must be very well thought out, because you can't simply activate and upgrade every skill you come across. Active skills cost 1 to 3 skill points at level 1, and each additional level consumes 1 more point. Buffs, on the other hand, don't use any SP, and you can have a maximum of 2 active at the same time. Furthermore, many buffs share partial effects with the party, so it's not always worth it for everyone in the group to use the same type of buff. For this reason, I started focusing on carefully choosing which active skills I really want to take to the higher levels. What I do is prioritize the actual level of the skills I use the most in my day-to-day routine, because they are the ones that provide the biggest DPS gains and direct impact in combat. Meanwhile, I try out new skills for free up to level 5, just to see if they fit my build without spending too many points. This way, I can test various options without compromising my main progression. Another important detail is that high-level skills also help level up passives faster, which ends up further reinforcing the build you're putting together. Therefore, if you are playing Souls Remnant, I recommend treating skill points as your most valuable resource. Focus on the skills you actually use, test the rest in moderation, and let the passives grow alongside your core skills. At first, I focused so much on damage and mobility that I neglected survivability, as if extra HP and regeneration were secondary details. However, when I started facing monsters above my level and exploring at night, I realized that this aspect makes a lot of difference. Putting just a few points into CON increases your HP quite noticeably and even grants an extra point of defense. This might seem like little at first, but in practice, it means you can take more hits before needing to retreat or use potions. In longer fights or against tougher enemies, this difference in survivability ultimately translates into fewer deaths and more time farming consistently. Craftable campfires come in as another resource that I started using whenever possible. They offer HP and MP regeneration for you and your group, in addition to providing light in dark areas. Of course, they don't work inside dungeons, but in the open world, they are great for recovering resources between fights, especially when you are grinding at night or in regions with more dangerous monsters. All of this matters because dying in Souls Remnant comes with a real cost. You lose 8% of your current level's experience. So, if you are playing, I recommend not underestimating CON and campfires. A small investment in survivability prevents many unnecessary deaths and protects all the progression you've achieved up to that point.